Welcome back to Son of Chelsea. Daniel Childs here for my review, my reaction and breakdown of Chelsea's 4-1 win over Djurgarden in the first leg of the Europa Conference League Semi-Final. I think for the majority of it, one of the more enjoyable performances I've seen from a Chelsea side in some time, many months. There were some concerns, I think, in the second half. I think the frustrations overall that Chelsea didn't keep a clean sheet. There were some rocky moments. However, given the concerns pre-match with the pitch, given what you would have wanted to walk out of this game with, and maybe some confidence from individuals heading into that Liverpool game, I think we ticked all the boxes really, and I think Enzo Maresca and his players will be really satisfied, especially from that first half performance, which I thought really was flawless, to be honest. I think from what you would have wanted in that situation. And of course, we always throw up, as we have throughout the majority of this competition, the context that Chelsea are heavily weighted in terms of, their quality, their finances. All of that stuff is clear. Like, Chelsea, of course, should be beating Djurgarden quite comfortably. However, that doesn't mean we can't celebrate individual moments. We can't enjoy individual moments of class. And I think that's something that really shone through for me today. So we'll go through all of that and where that leaves Chelsea heading into next week. I got the team almost spot on. I think the biggest surprise was Enzo Fernandez and Noni Madueke starting this game. Madueke moving back onto the right side of Chelsea's attack when he played on the left against Everton. Sancho, Tyreek George playing in that centre forward role. A midfield three of Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, Reece James and Enzo Fernandez. Then you got the back four of Josh Achimpong, Tosin Adarabioyo, Benoit Badiashile, Marco Correa and Philip Jorgensen in goal. One of the big things that was discussed before this game was the state of the pitch. And I have to say, maybe like you, I had flashbacks, horrible PTSD of Ruben Loftus-Cheek several years ago when he, of course, got that ACL injury on a very, very dodgy pitch. Was it Boston or Chicago? I can't remember. It was in the it was against an MLS side, and I just feared that it's a key point in the season. What's going to happen? Are Chelsea going to, really get some bad luck with injury at a horrible point in the season? Luckily, at the time of recording and based on watching the game, it seems like none of that became an issue. And also, another part of the surface was concerned that it was going to be a really poor quality game. That's not the way it turned out. And I think it was due to Chelsea's ability to move the ball very quickly, very smoothly, very fluidly. I think off the ball, Chelsea were quite exceptional really in terms of their ability against a weakened opposition to, it's one of those frustrations, right? A team that sits deep, wants to limit space, and either you're not moving the ball quickly enough or you're not working hard enough off the ball to win it back and condense and, pressurize the opponent. I think Chelsea on both aspects did that really well in the first half. And I think some credit for me in terms of build-up. Tosin Adarabioyo, I think, on the ball tonight was excellent, especially in the first half. The number of times he picked out a pass through the line, cutting through midfield into the feet of especially Enzo Fernandez, kind of playing this advanced 8 role, especially picking up pockets on the right side, was devastating for Chelsea. It was in the build-up to Chelsea's first goal when that ball finds Fernandez. He opens up his body, right foot, curls it across the box and finds Jadon Sancho. Sancho, usually, as he usually does, waits a little bit to take the shot. The shot is eventually knocked in by Danielson. It was going on goal, so I think it'd be unfair not to give the goal to Sancho. But it was the perfect start because it was a rowdy atmosphere. It was an intense atmosphere. Djurgarden, as you expect, a bit like Warsaw quite a few weeks ago, tried to hit Chelsea quickly, tried to attack, but Chelsea stemmed the tide and very quickly took control. And I just thought the movement looked very, very encouraging. I thought the way not only Fernandez, Noni Madueke, Tyreek George was flowing and fluidly moving in with Jadon Sancho. Even Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, who I'm not his biggest fan, I thought was picking up those positions. And I think it just helped Chelsea, especially from the fence, where you then had Josh Achimpong recycling possession, Tosin Adarabioyo winning his tackles. It just stopped any chance of transition opportunities hurting Chelsea. And I think the big thing for me was Chelsea should be going into the interval 2-0 up. And luckily, that goal came from Noni Madueke. Another brilliant move. Enzo Fernandez once again involved. I just thought the team build up to that second goal was wonderful. It really was. Again, no matter what the opposition is, I just thought it was really good. And then when the ball gets to Noni As we've seen so far this season, he is Chelsea's most productive wide player, gets onto that left foot and drills the ball into the bottom corner. And that leaves Chelsea heading into the break in a really strong position. I was a little bit surprised the number of changes Maresca made at half-time, of course, bringing on Nicolas Jackson, Cole Palmer and Trevor Chalobah. But when you think about it in sort of totality, about the entirety of this squad, not many players tonight have got 90 minutes. Even Tyreek George was taken off for the very young Reggie Walsh, who nearly scored, the 16-year-old, making his Chelsea senior debut. Congratulations to him. So barely anyone really had 90 minutes. It was trying to get that rotation in, which I understand. There were some concerns, Palmer, Jackson, Caicedo, Caicedo was another one, Chalobah, all players you expect to start against Liverpool on Sunday, but it contributed to Chelsea's other 2 goals tonight. And the second half started not as great. I think that defence was just not as switched on as it was. I thought Enzo Fernandez being off the pitch, you felt Chelsea's movement and ability to thread things together wasn't as intricate, wasn't as fluid. I even think Reece James going off the pitch wasn't a great thing for Chelsea. Weirdly, even though in the second half you maybe thought there was a more natural midfielder there. I'm not saying Caicedo had a bad game. It just, just whatever was working in the first half. Djurgarden tried to press Chelsea. Jorgensen was forced into some really big stops tonight, especially from a corner that saved well at the right time. Chelsea then looking for that extra incentive to go on and get more goals, and it was Nicolas Jackson hounding, harassing, chasing a ball, and Danielson and a running goal. Confusion once again. Yeah, it was obviously an awful goal for them to concede, but it also was Jackson's persistence running onto a Cole Palmer pass. If you actually watch the replay, he gets his left foot around the ball and kind of moves it away from the keeper. So yeah, it is a disaster, but some credit to the persistence of Jackson, and a goal for him, obviously scored at the weekend. And then the second goal of the night was outstanding, truly outstanding. I mean, Palmer involved once again. The build-up again, there was a lot to like, but the way he rolls that ball onto his left foot and then drills a shot into the top corner, just simply amazing finish, brilliant finish. And it was a bit like the weekend. You would not know this is a guy who hasn't scored a goal, or from before Saturday hadn't scored a goal since December. So for Jackson, it was a really positive night. He comes off the bench and he gets himself 2 goals, which hopefully only amps up his confidence and belief in himself, especially ahead of a big game on Sunday at the Bridge. The one negative of the night was obviously that Djurgarden did get one back. It was a really scrappy goal. I didn't like the way Chalobah in particular, who was playing as right back in the second half, he moved sort of centrally, very narrow. And then there was a load of defenders, Chelsea defenders, putting their arm up, waiting for an offside flag that didn't come. The ball gets played into the 6-yard box, and there, not the tallest player at the back post, putting the ball in the back of the net. It was just a really messy goal, a really poor goal to concede, especially not against the greatest opposition. And, very much rallied their crowd. And there could have been another one. Chelsea got away with it. Some poor finishing meant that Djurgarden didn't get a second goal, which, would have actually really changed the complexion of the night. I'm not saying Chelsea still have a 2-goal advantage heading back to the Bridge, but we saw what happened in the second leg against Legia Warsaw a couple of weeks ago. That doesn't mean the tie is completely over if your performance levels are not at the right stage and not at the right intensity, which hopefully they will be this time next week. Great to see. I mentioned him already. Reggie was coming off the bench. It was a shame, he was so close to, I say so close, but he rifled that shot, and what an incredible moment that would be. But, a guy born in 2008, which makes many of us feel very old, but truly wonderful, and it was great. Credit to Enzo Maresca to give Walsh that chance, because, you look at the bench, Levi Colwell, Malo Gusto, Amagu, Neto, all could have been used for a few more minutes. And I think it's credit that, you see the opportunity, you give a youngster a special moment, and I think that's credit. And a really nice moment on the night. Unfortunately, Palmer couldn't get his goal. We're away. I said this to someone recently, I kind of think, I do ponder whether Palmer's goal narratively is going to come in the Conference League final. Whether it's a winning goal or not, I don't know, but I just can see him breaking that record in the final. But hopefully he can break it sooner than then, because he is really trying, but you just see that instinct not quite there. Jackson, you could see tonight, that instinct, that finishing instinct was coming back to him. Palmer, it just hasn't returned yet, unfortunately. But listen, all round, it was also a bonus that, of course, in the Premier League, Brentford did us a massive favour beating Nottingham Forest away from home, which is huge because it means Chelsea walk into the weekend's game still in the top 5. So that obviously was an extra bonus, not even playing in the Premier League tonight. So Chelsea are nearly there in the Conference League final. We're nearly at Roclaw. 4-1 is still a very good result away from home. The one negative being that goal conceded. You got to think about, how Maresca handled the second leg against Warsaw. He put out a much stronger side. So to kind of anticipate what he's going to do this time next week, I'm not entirely sure, because he may want to get the job done early and then rotate and think ahead to Newcastle, which will be after that. But very quickly is obviously coming around the corner is that Liverpool game, which we will look towards before Sunday at the Bridge. But a really positive night. I was impressed by Enzo Fernandez, Jadon Sancho, Noni, Madueke. I think Dewsbury had some nice moments. I thought Tosin's passing from deep was really good. So a really positive night. Not many complaints in Chelsea. Nearly at the Conference League final. So follow me across the socials at SonOfChelsea, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.